Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another virtual talk at the iOS platform brought to you by RSVP Events Management. This is Cardella, and I'm your host. This week, I have invited one of the women who wears many hats. She is the CEO and founder of Training Excellence South Africa, CEO of Orbrix Dubai, Executive Chair, ESS Holding Africa, Director of Women's Chamber of Entrepreneurs South Africa, Business Executive Leader Coach, Trainer, and Motivational Global Speaker. She is also a TEDx Lyttleton woman speaker. I can spend hours to talk about what great achievements she has, but since this is all available at her LinkedIn page, I won't mention them in this introduction. What I wanted to highlight here is she is an amazing NLP practitioner that studies how human behavior has the power to change lives. What makes her relevant is her ability to tap into people's deepest emotion through neurological alignment. I say this as I have a defining experience from the very first session we had. Here to discuss the power of you, please welcome Hawa Charfaray.
So when we talk about the power of you, I believe that you have the power to be able to achieve anything that you would like to achieve. I've had dreams to travel the world without even a cent in my pocket at one stage. I had dreams to network with the likes of women like Cardella without having to even have known that these kind of platforms actually, exist. And slowly, as you identify what those dreams are and what you want to achieve by it and what brings you happiness in this life, then I believe that you can achieve it if you identify the power inside of you. And I believe that we've all been created with this power. It's just that we haven't been able to harness that power at all. So that's why my tagline in terms of Hawa Charfaray brand comes from the true discovery, is truly discovering who you are as a person. And I think there's many of the women here, like Shanta herself, who actually works on a lot of this. Mala, you've written about it in your book. So these are the kind of things that I'd like to be able to discuss with you here today. So when we're actually looking at the power of you, I'd like all of you just to sit back for a moment. And I want you to perhaps, if any of you have a window next to you, I want you to look outside that window for a moment. If you don't have a window next to you, look beside you, next to you in the room. Look towards the next room if you are able to do that. And just take at least about 10 seconds and look for me at another area of the environment you are sitting in. If you're at a window, I want you to look outside the window. So for those of you who knows, I'm living right on the beautiful Cornish over here. So I've got a full view of a beautiful river, a man lake, right, moving into the actual Cornish of the real sea. And it's absolutely beautiful. But I want you to look outside your window. And I just want you to write down 3 things that comes to your mind right now of what do you see? Just 3 things that you see that you like about what you are looking at, whether it's in the room next to you, whether it's outside a window, whether it's just towards the side of your desk where someone else is sitting, or whether it's on the side of your kitchen, for those of you who are doing multi-tasking at this particular moment, or gardening, or painting, whatever it is. Write down 3 things that you see. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. All right, once you've written that, I want you to look back to that very same environment you were looking at. And I want you to look at it again and tell me the 3 things that you don't like about what you are seeing. What are the things that you don't like about what you're seeing? Same environment, so look at the same window or the same pot plant that you were looking at before, whatever it is, and write down 3 things that you don't like. All right, and this is going to be an interactive session, so I would like to hear from the audience. You're more than welcome to put it down into your chat, or you're more than welcome to, unmute yourself and tell me what it is that you see. Who would like to go first? Let's go with the things that you like.
I want to go.
Okay, there we have our first gentleman to go. Anmol, would you like to go first? What is it that you like?
I like the sky. I like the brown color that I see, and I like the distance from the real world.
Fantastic. What is it that you don't like?
The distance from the real world, and that's the only thing I can think of. Other than this, I mean,
Good.
all fine.
Well done. Thank you very much. Keep an eye on that. I'm going to come back to that now. Anyone else who'd like to go? Thank you for Anmol for sharing. Who else?
I would.
There we go. Let's hear from you.
I see bees, my dogs, and creepy vines,
Is that
which
what you
I
like?
enjoy. Yes,
Okay,
I
good.
do. And then what I dislike is mud, the dying trees, and an empty house.
Ah, lovely. Okay, good. Well done. Thank you. All right. Who would like to go next? Shanta, I see you off mute. Yes, let's go.
Hi, Hawa. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hawa, I'm in my office. So I look up and I see a blue sky. I look in the consulting room, I see plants. And then I'm generally very happy in my office environment. However,
Very nice.
look up again, and in front of that blue sky, I see the neighbor's roof. Not a very appealing one. I look at my plants. I'm missing my lucky bamboo. I think that's where I need to have it. I've got plants, but something's missing there. And my office environment, I had a busy evening last night on Lion, so I didn't get a chance to tidy my desk. And it's the clutter on the one side of my desk that really doesn't appeal to me.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's mine.
Great. Thank you, Shanta. Thank you. Great description there. And I see Amika is putting it into the chat. She's seeing the nature, the sun, the sky, which she likes. But she also sees the barren, empty house, the distance from the world, and a dry, barren garden, which are her dislikes. So thank you, Amika, for actually sharing that. So ladies and gents, as we're looking at this right now, notice that you're all looking at the same environment in two different ways. You are looking at it in a way that actually appeals to you, but you're also looking at it in a way that does not appeal to you. So one of the first things about creating the power within you is to have a choice about, and here's the thing, ladies and gents, you have to understand that life is all about choices. You have a choice to focus on the good that you are seeing through that window or through that other office or through the sky, or you have a choice to focus on the things that are barren and the things that you dislike. The power comes from within you when you decide that you have the power to make that choice. The problem with us in society and as leaders in our organization, as parents, is that we tend to focus on the things that is going to bring displeasure or things that we don't like. I mean, I look at this beautiful view outside, and there were times that I would look at the view and I would say, oh, these windows are dirty. They need a clean. And then I would stress about cleaning the windows when I'd forget that just beyond that window, if I look far beyond that dirt, there is something more to find through that that's going to bring me peace and harmony. So the question I need to ask you is, where do you actually find this power and how do you work with it? One of the ways that I always work with women and with leaders is through executive presence. And that is the one way that we're going to look at it here today. So I'm going to ask you now to be able to look at what exactly is executive presence. Can anybody type for me into the group what they believe executive presence is? Because when you find executive presence of yourself, you are able to become more powerful in how you carry yourself. You're able to become more powerful in how you portray an image to the rest of the world, but more importantly, an image towards within yourself. So who can tell me in their chats, what exactly do you think is executive presence? In the chat, what do you think it is? So we have Armo who's saying that it is consciously present, to be consciously present. Yes, anyone else? Good. Authentic being, nice, Rita. It's about your authenticity. And remember, authenticity is a very big word there. How authentic are you in terms of relating to people and relating to yourself For me, that's more in terms of how you relate to yourself. Hushmila says it's been present from your higher self. Absolutely, Hushmila. Being authentic and confident. Yes, Naz. Welcome, Naz. Ilham Davids says be in alignment with yourself. And I love the word alignment. You'll notice that Kadela mentioned that I did a neurological alignment with her. And the effect is so that it allows you to have more executive presence about yourself, because now you're more aware, because you're aligning your behavior with your beliefs, with your values, with your interpersonal relationships, and with your connectivity far beyond this world. And that's what creates an alignment. So absolutely true, Ilham. Danisha says how we motivate others around us. Asli says it is to feel your reason to be. Absolutely. Creating a positive and empowering impact, confident and inspirational. And of course, we're going on. Saeed Mohammed says to be natural. Absolutely. And natural is that authenticity we're talking about. Mala is talking about the awareness of the divine and the now. So absolutely correct, ladies and gents. When we are talking about what is executive presence, we are also looking at how do you actually get attention towards yourself, from yourself, and from others as well. So all the things that you've mentioned, let's look at that. Do you believe this young girl that you're seeing there at the moment, do you believe she has executive presence? Yes or no? In other words, all the things that you've mentioned, being herself, being in the now, being authentic. What do you think? In the chats, quick yes or no's. What do you see? Absolutely. And I see quite a few yeses coming in. You can see the executive presence from this young girl without her saying a word. That picture is counting for many things. Let's look at this next picture. Do you believe that little young girl has executive presence? Yes or no? The second picture on your right-hand side, the one with the young girl with the two ponytails. Does she have executive presence? Yes, absolutely. But Shanta is saying in a different way. This is the point that I'd like to make to all of you. The executive presence and the power within you is never determined by other people. It's always determined from your own power from within inside of you. We tend to thrive to be like others, but we don't have to. If we would like to have our own executive presence, it can be developed in our own very subtle manner. And this here is what these two young ladies can actually demonstrate to all of you here at the moment. So when we're looking at executive presence, I'd like us also to be able to consider, look at these, and I've put purposely the men aside, but look at the men over here. And I'm sure I don't need to give any introduction to who they are, right? If you look at all of them, what makes these men so powerful? What makes them so powerful? Can anybody share that with us? Okay, let's hear from someone who hasn't unmuted themselves before. Who would like to unmute themselves and just tell us, what do you notice about that is relevant to these men? So we see confidence. So when I say in confidence, they all share confidence. What else? Can anyone tell me? The ambition and courage. Yes, Danisha, absolutely. So if any of you look at them and listen to them, do you notice that sometimes without them even saying a word, that they already exude a kind of a presence that allows you to want to be able to hear them, to be inspired by them, like Amika says, and they share a truth and a transparency. And without them even saying a word, we can actually hear it, we can see it. So Shanta is saying no. Shanta, you want to unmute yourself and just tell us what your thoughts are.
Sorry, Hawa, that was a wrong typo. I was going to go on.
No issues.
I'm so sorry.
You can see I'm pretty fast at checking the chat. Eh? Well done. Thank you, Shanta. So as you can all agree that they have a very strong, like Nalini is saying, strong energetic presence as well. So let's look at this further. Let's look at these women. Would you say that they have the same kind of presence? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, in a very different manner. Mother Teresa, for example, what really looks at me when the power of her comes out, and I quote this in many of my topics, is when many people approached her to ask her to come and walk with us for a walk against war. Mother Teresa refused, and many people looked at her and was totally confused, and they thought, how can a woman of her caliber refuse to join us for such a divine mission where we are doing a walk and we are marching against war? And she looked at them and she said, here's the executive presence, and here's the power of you that comes through by just a few words. And she says to them, come and ask me I will join you when you have a walk for peace. I want you to just think about this. There's a walk or a march against war, and then there's a walk for peace. So the question I need to ask is, here is a woman that is striving to stop war, but her executive presence is coming from a heart of peace as opposed to a heart of war. Now, those of you who've listened to my conflict management workshops and my collaboration workshops, you'll notice that I always talk about the art of peace. That when we function and when we communicate and when we talk to people from a heart of war, no matter what positive words you use, and I know there are many gurus out there that talks about having a positive mindset and having positive words, and I agree totally. You can have all the positive words in the world that you will utilize, but if your heart is at war and not at peace, it will come out in a very negative form, and people will respond to the voice and the tone, because that's the power that you have within you. It doesn't reside in the words that you are communicating. It resides in the mannerism you communicate. It resides in your belief system. It resides in your cognitive ability to think deeper than the conscious level and what is actually sitting in your conditioned mind. And ladies and gents, you will start to see that that comes out through the mannerism of what you are believing of your heart at peace or at war. So as you notice, all these women have executive presence and the power within them from a completely different perspective. And absolutely, as Shanta is saying, that's one thing no one can camouflage, and that is what's inside of you, because it will come out sooner or later in your presence and the way you communicate. So I'd like us to look now at the actual definition of what we say is executive presence. And as we look at executive presence, it refers to those people who walk into a room and everyone turns to look at them without them sometimes even saying a word. They exude this presence of the way they stand, the way they walk, the way they carry their body language. When they speak, people listen. And when they lead, you'll find that without them asking you to follow, they will have followers. These people command authority, they exude an energy that is magnetic, and they possess charisma that is captivating. In essence, the executive presence is about developing the credibility and managing these perceptions. And again, to remind all of you that all of this is found inside of you, which is what I'm going to be talking about now shortly, just as I give you the introduction. So when we're looking at the qualities of each of you as a leader, I'm not just talking about you as a leader in your business. I'm talking about you as a leader as a head of your home. I'm talking about you as a leader within your clan of your colleagues and your friends. The qualities is, how engaged are you? Are you able to actually inspire or align people's behavior to yours and align yours to people? Because it's not just about changing people. And people ask me this question many times is, how do you change people? And those of you who've attended my live seminars, you will know that I sometimes stand on a chair and I said, if I need people to change the perception of me, I need to change. And as I stand on a chair, people can look up to me. And the question is, do I ask them to look up to me? No. What had to change is I needed to create an alignment in such a manner that they see and perceive me completely differently. I can't ask them to change, but all I can really do is make the changes myself, and eventually I will then automatically become that leader that I truly want to become. So it moves people into action, as we know. The combination of confidence, voice, authenticity that convinces the rest of us we're in the presence of someone who's, that real deal. And I'm sure many of you will know that when you join someone and you speak to them, you immediately know, is this person authentic or not? because like Shanta says earlier, you cannot hide that. It comes directly through their voice and their confidence in terms of what they are saying and what they are speaking. So it becomes this whole big amalgam of qualities that basically looks at telegraphing you in terms of what you are actually in charge of and what you deserve to actually be. So I just like to end of this particular introduction into executive presence, where it's a measure of the image you actually portray. Now, when we look at that, there was a study that was done by the executive presence, the missing link between merit and success. And here is where executive presence comes in. And the area I'm going to focus on today with the power of you is actually on the 67% that makes up executive presence. Because the power within you is found when you have developed what we call gravitas. And that's that 67% over here that it actually makes through. Right? If I can just remind all the listeners who are joining in, just to make sure that you're on mute. So if Kadela, if you can just make sure that everyone is on mute as well. Yes, thank you. All right, then of course we have the next is how you communicate and how you portray yourself. And again, we're going to come back to the power of you. And then of course you've got the 5%, which is appearance through your relationships with people. So we're not just talking about appearance in the way you are dressed or the way you look, but how do you build your relationships through an appearance of people as such. So that is your 5%, and that makes up the true executive presence as such. So for today, we're going to be focusing on purely on the gravitas area, on the power of you. So when we are looking at this, projecting intellectual horsepower underpins what we call gravitas. For those of you who haven't heard that word before, not only depth and heft, but also the confidence that we're talking about. So gravitas actually is your confidence, your credibility that you are creating on how you get your point across and how you create buy-in when you are under extreme pressure as such. So a lot of people, when they're not under pressure, you might see the best side of them. But when they're under pressure, you will find that that credibility is sometimes lost because we aren't able to communicate that very effectively through in terms of how we carry ourselves. So something to be able to consider when we're dealing with gravitas. So how many of you are this, where you walk in a room and you got your 30 seconds or a minute to actually say what you have to say. When you're gone, people actually say, thank you for coming. You're giving me a lot to forget about. Yeah. So I know it's a funny cartoon. However, the reality is how many of us actually walk in and create a presence around ourselves in terms of how do we actually get people to remember us from a perspective of, hey, I'd like to meet that woman again. I'd like to meet that gentleman again. There's something about him or her that has incited inspiration within me. How many of us can actually say that, yes, we are able to do that, right? So something to think about. The reason we're able to do that is how do we communicate with ourselves? Now, many of us have heard the term interpersonal communication. But what we haven't understood is how we communicate to ourselves, in which we communicate with ourselves and others. We only look at interpersonal communication as how we communicate to ourselves. The question is, what are the messages that you are giving to yourself? When you look out that window, are you focusing on the messages that are good, or are you focusing on the messages that are bad all the time? This is what we call in our business, we call this key focus filters. In other words, your key focus filters are going to be what you are actually going to attract for most part of your life. So if, for example, you are constantly focusing on, many of you have businesses, many of you are, well, COVID has brought quite a few financial challenges in our businesses at the moment. Right? So based from that perspective, as you are in those challenges, many of us are focusing on the challenge and not really looking at what else can be done. Because when we look at the key focus filters of the negative side, we will only get more of that. We will only see more of that. It's like when I look outside this beautiful window and all I can really see is a tall building, which is obscuring one of the views that I'd really like to see. I can't see the view in front of that building. It prevents me because my key focus filter is based on what is obscuring instead of what I can see already that is going to be helpful for me. So the messages that you are giving to yourself, what are they? How many of you, I just like a quick in the chat, if you can just write down for me, how many of you are focusing on, what do you focus on when you wake up in the morning? Just write that down for me. And I want you to be truly honest. Are you focusing about, oh, how am I going to pay my debts for today? Are you focusing on the beautiful sun that is looking outside? Are you focusing, great, some of you have got gratitude. Are you focusing on today's to-do list? Absolutely. Most of you are saying you're grateful. Are you focusing on, and if you've got debts to pay, are you focusing on the debt, or are you focusing on the objective of how to overcome that debt? Whatever you are focusing on is what your messages you are actually giving to yourself at that moment in time. So the message we give ourselves help us to form a view of ourselves, or what we call our self-image. And we're now going to look at that. So here's a very funny picture, and I'm sure the men will enjoy this. So when guys actually meet each other and they get together, there's this very common unspoken communication. Guy to guy, they look at each other, hi, hello, that's it. How many of you find this very familiar? Where you look at another person and you look at them, oh, I love that handbag. Oh, I love her figure. Why can't I have that figure? That top is absolutely gorgeous. The color I have just doesn't suit me. How many of us are focusing on the things that we like about the person, but not only like about the person, but we focus as well about how different it is to us? Just a quick check. How many of us do this every now and again, honestly? Yeah, a quick yes, no? Anyone? Yes, absolutely. And Nasira is saying, and some of you are saying yes, Nasira is saying, sometimes we are too judgmental. And the question is, why? Why is it that we have created these kind of barriers and limited the power inside of us to be able to grow to a bigger extent? And now I want to move into, how do we create this power? What do we actually do? And if we like what we are going to learn here today, the question is, how are you going to implement this back into your environment as such? So the first area I want to create is a kind of an internal awareness. So A stands for awareness for us in this particular session, is how aware are you of your internal makeup of how you are made and your external environment that you're actually functioning in. So that's what I'd like to focus on right now with the A. So when we look at this, some of you might have seen the slide before, but I would like, it's never too late, never too much to show it again. But if you look at your nervous system, let's go into a quick science lesson here. Once you understand the magnificence of your system, it is very easy for you to get excited about all the possibilities, and very excited for you to find out what is the power you have within us. You see, we have been created with this unique possibility of achieving anything we wanted to. There's a Swami that I follow and I read a lot of his books. It's Swami Parthasamy. Some of you might have heard of him. And he speaks about in one of his books that God has created 3 different species. He's created man, animal, and plant. Out of the 3 species he's created, man is the only species that he's created. When I talk man, I'm talking, of course, dual male and female. He's created man as such, or human, that they are the only species that is independent. Supposed to be independent. They could do anything, and powerfully so, achieve anything in their life. But yet, look around us, ladies and gents. We as human are completely dependent on everything else in this world. If we ask, are you happy? Yes, I'll be happy when I get married. And then they ask you when you get married, are you happy? Yes, I suppose I'll be happy now when I have kids. I'll be happy when I have a good job. I'll be happy when I reach senior position. The problem with us is that we have this amazing nervous system that we are made up of to allow us to be instantly happy and create our own connections to create this happiness, but yet we are dependent on our kids, our family, our jobs, our positions. Titles mean a lot to us, and we have forgotten how to truly just be the power within ourselves. I'm challenging every one of you here today to look around you and identify this amazing nervous system that you have and learn about it further to look at what it has in store. So for those of you who knows a little bit about neurological connections, we actually have, your nervous system is capable of 10 to the power 10 to the power 10, to the power of 11 possible neurological connections. So for those of you who can read this number, this is the number that it looks like. I can't read it, so I stand to correction. But that number that you see, to make it more bearable and understandable, is so big that our conscious idea, we have no conscious idea of what that actually is. So when we look at this particular number, I want you to look at, we have more possible neurological connections. Although you are not using all of them, you have them more than the number of grains of sand on all the beaches of the planet. So that number, 10 to the power 10 to the power 11, actually meets up the number of grains of the sands on all the beaches of our planet, and if not more, right? It is equivalent to, not using them all, than the number of the stars in our visible universe. Now imagine how many that is. You have more possible neurological connections than all the atoms in the entire universe, according to quantum physicist Dr. Paul Goodway. So as you can see, that number 10 to the power 10 is so vast. But the question is, ladies and gents, why am I telling you this? What is the importance of this? What is a neurological connection? A neurological connection is when you have a connection from, we thought we had this just in our brain, but it is far beyond the brain. Those connections run deep inside the rest of our body, which is what we call brain plasticity. And this was found a good few years ago, written about in many books as well. So there's a connection between what you are thinking and how you're actually behaving. Those of you know my story with my amazing children. When I was doing research to help them to be able to get medical help in order to survive, we looked at stem cell therapy. Stem cell therapy was taking cells and you know, from different parts of the body to allow other parts of the body to actually heal. So if we have been created in such a way that we can create new cells and build new cells, where even if a limb, for example, is lost, you can still function by actually growing new nerve endings towards that particular limb. That is how powerful we actually are. So the question then is why? Why is it that all of you sitting here right now, and I'm sure we all have our own struggles, we find it difficult to learn new languages. We find it difficult to achieve our goals. We find it difficult to have this amazing executive presence. Many of my clients come to me and say, Hawa, I need help with presentation skills. I can't present myself effectively. And the reason is because we have created our own beliefs through what we are thinking. And remember, those neurological connections are connected throughout your body. So whatever you are thinking, whatever messages you are giving to yourself, whatever key focus filters you are focusing on, is what you are actually manifesting inside of you, because we have learned to create our own limiting beliefs. We have not only created them, but we have learned to accept them. Question to all of you out there in the chat. How many of you, when you were much younger, and I know there's a lot of people who's come to me with this, has said to me, Hawa, I don't believe I'm good enough. I don't believe I'm pretty enough. I don't believe I'm loved enough. I don't believe I can love anyone else. The beliefs have all come from within a limitation that was either said to us at some time or the other. We have aunts, we have uncles who constantly are in our face. Oh, you've got so much of acne on your face. Why don't you do something about your face? So from the time we were young, we are told about these little limitations that is not going to allow us to thrive. And as many of you are saying in the chat as well, is that we forget who we truly are. The power of you today, ladies and gents, is about redefining that. It's about going back to your conditioned mind and saying, when did this all start? When did I decide that I was not good enough? When did I actually decide that I have a limitation in terms of not being able to do presentations? I don't like presentations. I don't like networking. I don't like being with people. When did I decide that? When did you decide that you had these limitations? Because those are the limitations that are creating your barriers within yourselves that is actually blocking your full potential right now. So I want you all just to grab a piece of paper right now. And I want you to write down for me, what is your limiting belief that you feel is holding you back from actually achieving something that's really great and that you weren't able to achieve in the past? What's holding you back? Is it your belief that you're not good enough for it? Is it your belief that people will never listen to you because you don't have such good ideas? Is it your belief that you aren't able to communicate more effectively? And you're absolutely right. These are the stereotypes preventing us from excelling in what we are good at. Is there anyone here who would like to actually share one of their limiting beliefs with us? Let's see who's brave enough to find the power within you to share, because the first step in what I would like to say, we won't say remove the limiting belief, but working with that belief in order to become rather a powerful learning tool is to acknowledge what that belief is. So who would like to go?
Hawa?
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is that Naz? Yes, I
Yes,
recognize the voice. Yes,
Yeah,
Naz.
I have
Go
a
for
terrible
it.
nasal thingy, but I'll go first, and I'll say I think one of my limiting beliefs was being able to stand up and talk to people in an audience, and you know that better than anyone else.
Yes.
I had such a fear of standing up and talking to people, and I think once I embraced loving myself and believing in who I am and believing in the passion of what I love to do, made me stand up with such zest, you know, to lead
Absolutely.
the group and to lead who I am. And that has taken a journey of the last 3 years. And I think I'm still learning even up till today. And that has been one of my biggest fears in terms of limiting beliefs, you know, and I think it stemmed from school. If I've actually gone back and I've dissected it, that I could never stand up in a class and say my speech.
Yes.
And that limitation stopped me further on in my life and in my career. And I think once I stood up and I believed in myself and in my true authenticity, that has helped me to break down those barriers, if that helps anyone.
Well done, Naz, and thank you so much for sharing that. And I remember the journey that you've been on, and I think we went through the journey together over a period of time. And I just want to say to those of you who don't know Naz, I remember when I would actually call her up to come and do a topic or a talk, and just no, Hawa, I can't actually do this. And the more she started realizing that the power was within her to actually have the choice. You know, that choice of when you look out that window, you can either look out as yourself doing the presentation and you're going to fail, or you can look at it that you're absolutely going to be amazing, or you can look at it that, yes, you know what, I might fail, but you know what, I would have learned through that failure and I will do it better the second time. The question, and again, it comes back to the choice. Ladies and gents, I want to remind you that the power is within you. And a lot of you might be sitting and say, Hawa, I know this, I get this, I understand it. It's a positive view of myself, but how? How do I actually do that? And that's what I'd like to look at here. So let's look at some of the, so Naz, thank you very much for sharing that. You'll find that the old belief that we believe that our neurons is basically only situated in our brain has been disqualified over many years right now. Deepak Chopra actually wrote about it in his Quantum Healing in 1986, where he talks about neurons are everywhere in the body. The communication between your part of your body, whatever is being communicated from your mind to your body is there. And I just want to quickly do a quick exercise, and just everybody to put your video cams on if you are decent enough to do that. So please, I'd like you all to please put your video cams on. And I'd like to see everyone at the moment. Let's see if I can see you at the moment. Can you all see me? Yes? Okay, great. I just need to see that I can see the correct view. All right, okay, because I'm sharing screen, I might not see you. So those of you that have got your cams on, you can see my fingers together, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. I would like you to be able to just take your fingers like this, put them together and put them apart. Put them together and put them apart. Is that easy? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I would like you now to be able to look at your fingers, and without physically putting them together, I want you to look at them, focus, and just concentrate and tell yourself, my fingers will move together, my fingers will move together, my fingers will move together. Focus and concentrate. I want you to focus, just 30 seconds, concentrate, and tell me what happens. Tell me what happens.
Move together.
How many of your fingers are actually moving together? So you're going to focus. Yes, moving together, Nalini, yes. All right. Are you physically moving them together, or is it just moving together on its own?
Moving together on its own.
It's moving together on its own, absolutely. So the point, this isn't magic. I'm not doing any magic with you. I want you to focus on that there are neurological connections between your mind and your body. So part of when we are taking you through building confidence in yourself, we utilize that technique of what we call anchoring to anchor a physical space, either on your earlobes, or we do it on your knuckles, to be able to create a kind of a confidence, because the neurological connections is from your mind to your body. We utilize the different senses, your visual. So when you are even focusing, the power is within you to achieve your goals. When we want you to achieve your goals, we ask you to visualize. So that is the V. We visualize what it is you want to achieve. And when you visualize it, we ask you to go into that moment where if you had to achieve it, what would that feel like? What would the sounds be like? So notice I'm using senses here. Visualization, auditory, which is the sounds, kinesthetic, which is the feelings. So we use VAK to take you into that moment, because the neurological connections that's inside of your body is found not just in your brain, it's found throughout. So what we do is we focus on those connections, because sooner or later we'll create a connection between the mind and the body, because when you start to feel what it feels like, what success is going to feel like when you achieve your goals, then once you've got that feeling, we ask you to look now to between the time that you've achieved it and the now, and look at what do you need to do in order to get to that feeling. So you might say, but hang on, Howard, this is like a dream. How many of you watch horror movies here? Who watches a horror movie? Who likes horror movies? Ah, there we go, Nalini, well done. So those of you who watch horror movies, you know, is it real or is it not real, Nalini?
Definitely not real. It's all in our heads.
It's all in our head. The question is, when you go and watch that, now I'll give away my age, when you go and watch Friday the 13th, yeah? So when you're watching Friday the 13th and Freddy's coming out with his long nail fingers and his knife fingers, yeah? What exactly, you know that's not real. Well, how many of you jump? Scared? Anyone? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No matter how many times you've watched it, you get scared. This is what we are talking about, is the neurological connections are all over your body. Sorry, I've lost my screen there for a moment. The neurological connections are all over your body, that no matter what you are focusing on the fear of the movie. You are focusing that this is a horror movie. And the moment you're focusing on that, your whole body tends to react to it. So the science behind this is, if it works for things like that, then surely it can work for the successes in your life. So we create neurological connections to create confidence, to create, for example, power, to be able to create happiness. A lot of people that come to say, how are you not? I just don't feel happy anymore. And the question is why? Because have you felt happiness before? Right? So I want to take you through the power of you with a very quick exercise of what we call anchoring. I want you all to look at the knuckle on your finger. Any knuckle. If you're right-handed, use your right hand touching the left knuckle, your foreknuckle over here. If you are left-handed, do it the other way around. All right, so I just want you to tap on, put your video cams on if you can, tap on that particular knuckle for me, just to see that you know what it feels like. Yes. So I'm going to take you through a very quick 1-minute exercise, which I want you all to practice to find the power within you. Let's look for a common thing that we're all looking for. How many of you would raise your hands and say, you can either raise your hand through using the Zoom raising hands, or you can raise it like this. How many of you say the majority of the people struggle with confidence? Yes? Okay. So let's do, we can either do confidence, or we can do power, or we can do excitement. But I think let's work on confidence for now. So I want you all to be able to just close your eyes for me, just for a few seconds. Sit back, relax, close your eyes. And I want you to be able to think of a time in your life, any time in your life, where you truly felt confident. So those of you who even say, but hang on, Hawa, I've never felt confident. There is a time that you might have felt confident, perhaps in grade 6, when you stood up and you gave your name and everybody laughed and they loved it and they were enticing you with it. Any moment that you felt confident in your life, I want you to think of that time. As you go back to that time right now and you found a time, I want you to raise your hand to tell me, yes, you have that time. Good. Fantastic. Majority of you do. As you go back to that time right now, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine that you are floating down inside your body. You're going right back to that time where you felt truly, truly confident in yourself. As you go back to that time, I want you to float down inside your body. See what you saw. Get a visual picture of it. Get a picture in your mind's eye. See what you saw. Put sounds to it. If there are sounds around, hear what you heard. What are the sounds around you that created that confidence to even get even deeper? See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel the feeling of confidence that you felt at that moment in time. And when that feeling is completely at its peak, you can feel it in the pit of your tummy, or some of you might feel it in the pit of your heart. I want you to feel that feeling of confidence. And when it's at its peak, I want you to touch that knuckle that I showed you on earlier. Just touch it and let go. Let's do this one more time. Go back to that time where you felt true confidence in your life. Go right back to that time where you felt true confidence in your life. As you go back to that time right now, float down inside your body. See what you saw. Get a big picture in your mind's eye. Hear what you heard. If there are sounds around you, make those sounds louder. And then feel the feeling of confidence enter your body from your head right down to your toes. Feel that feeling of confidence. And when it's at its peak, touch your knuckle again. And let go. And one last time. I want all of you to go back to the time. You might choose the same time, or you might choose another time. Go back to the time where you felt truly, truly confident in your life. That one time that you felt confident in your life. Go back to that time. Float down inside your body. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel what you're feeling. Feel that feeling of confidence enter your body right from your head, right down to your toe. You can feel that confidence throughout. And when it's at its peak, touch your knuckle again. And let go. You may now open your eyes. How many of you have got a cup of coffee in front of you? Anyone? Coffee? Can you smell coffee? Can you? Yeah. Okay, that's just to break your pace and to get you back to the now. Tell me how you're feeling. Who would like to share with me how they're feeling? Nobody?
I feel great.
Great. Thank you, Kadela. Anyone else?
Hello, Hawa.
Hi, Miriam. Good to have you. Thank you. Yes. How are you feeling, Miriam?
Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm gaining my confidence, but I feel I have to do it again to be fully confident.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah,
here's the
that's
thing.
what I feel.
Here's the thing, ladies and gents, is what we just did is one exercise to show you the example of how the neurological connections actually work, the power within you. You have the power to create your confidence by understanding the science of how our body actually works. But you're absolutely right, Miriam. It's what we call stacking of anchors. The more you do this, it doesn't just have to be where you are focusing on the past of a confident experience. This morning, I had an amazing experience at a business networking event that I went to. And immediately, I've got actually a confidence button that is right here on my earlobe. So immediately after that session, or while I had that confidence, immediately I stacked it. So you can decide where you stack it. And the more you stack it, the more you find that your confidence will start to grow. It's like that horror movie. You know that perhaps maybe this isn't true, but you know what? It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm in a certain state. And the state that you are focusing on here is confidence. So Miriam, you're absolutely right. The more you actually do this, the more it becomes a kind of a natural state for you. Yeah. Shanta, you would like to comment something on there?
However, for me, it just brought back absolutely wonderful childhood memories. I went way back to the mission school. As a 7-year-old, I was in love with the sound of music. And I used to be asked to sing. And, you know, it was wonderful. I mean, the nuns would ask me to sing. And that's, I think if I could say that's where my confidence started. But
Yes.
I think that impacted on me a lot.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about going back to that time, Shanta, it brought back a certain feeling and emotion that made you confident about who you are. And when you do that, you realize that the power within you is there. You have the ability to constantly be confident, but the choice is yours. You have a choice then to say, hang on, I'd like to revisit that. I'd like to be that more often than what I am at the moment. And I know that, Shanta, you yourself are a very confident woman as well. And for you to go back into that time, say, hang on, this just brings up a whole new, it reminds me to reminisce about something. It also reminds you that, hang on, we need to also do more of this, yeah?
Definitely.
Okay. Good. Ladies, that's an exercise I'd like to do with you. So the thoughts that you hold in your mind is basically coming through in your body. It affects the rest of your body. It's this inconceivable potential, which is hosted by the magnificent body that we have in terms of our neurology. Just because of time, Kadela, I believe we've just got we started a little late, so we got another about 5 to 8 minutes. Yes? Okay, fantastic. So what new choices do we gain by knowing this, ladies? What new choices do you have by knowing that you have the power, based on all the neurological connections you have in your body, to be able to take this forward? I just want to, some of you might have heard the story before, but there was a health book written by Michael Hutchinson. It was written, the book's name was called Mega Brain. If you haven't read it, please go and get it and read it. He tells a story about a medical doctor who had a lifelong friend. And that friend basically died at a certain age, but had no complications in life, might have been a little slow in the way he's done things, lived a full life with a full family, and all of a sudden one day just collapsed and he passed away. And of course, medical profession needed to do a
Yeah, audio is breaking up. Hawa, We can't hear you, so we request if you can just repeat that.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it
Yeah.
clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So based on that, the physiology of the nervous system basically rewired itself. So the thing that I've always said is what you don't know, you don't know. Those of you who know my personal story will know that until doctors told me my children will not be able to live till do. But when that seed was planted, I then started looking and waiting for when they're going to be sick. What's going to happen to them?
The problem again.
In again.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Is that okay? All right. I'm not sure what's happening on my side. It seems fine. All right. So our beliefs significantly impact our behavior. So when kids are being told you were stupid, or you are telling your kids, your messages you give to children and people, you are breaking down the power within them. We need to think twice about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing, and I just like Hi, can you hear me?
Let's wait for her to come back. Thank you.
Hi, ladies. I'm back.
Yeah, that's okay now.
All right. I'm not sure what happened with that, but that is the power outside of us can either control in one way or the other. So just to end off the session, I just like to find out from you is how many of you are currently getting certain results in your life, and you want new results, but you are doing the same thing. You want a new result, but you are actually still believing that you're not good enough. You are still believing that life is not good to you, that you've had a bad, spout of life. So what exactly is it that you have that is holding you back? I'd like you to be able to just share that with me and let me know. What do you think it is? Is there anyone who would like to share?
Yes, Hawa.
Yes, Miriam?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yes. So I think I have this feeling that I'm not good enough. yeah, I feel I want to achieve so many things, but I still have that fear that I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do it effectively. Yeah, that's it.
So, Miriam, what you are feeling, and I'm sure there's many ladies in here at the moment that are feeling the exact same thing as well. One of the ways that we would actually work with you to be able to get that right, and Cardella would actually work with you, is the very first step to doing that is to firstly creating what we call a neurological alignment. And that alignment is to define firstly the environment in which you are functioning, how are you currently behaving, what are your beliefs and your values. And the diagram that I was showing you just before I got disconnected was the results you are achieving is sometimes you believe is coming from your behavior. 9 out of 10 times, all of us say, well, it's because, you know, of what I'm doing. We think it's coming from the behavior. But I want you to look beyond that diagram, basically, and I think I'll just quickly show it to you because it's right here. If you're looking at that diagram at the moment, let me see if I can get to it. So you've got the results. We believe that it actually is our behavior, but when you look at it, it's not the behavior. When you look at it, you've got to look far beyond that, Miriam. It's not what you are behaving or what you are doing. It's rather coming from what is your state? What are you thinking of? And if you are thinking you are not good enough, that is going to move over to your behavior, and people will see it. They will see something that you are creating that you're probably not good enough. So not even changing your mind, because people say, well, change the mindset, change the thought, change the thought. That's not enough. Changing your thoughts is not enough. What you need to do is go beyond the thoughts and ask yourself what is being presented to you all the time. Through the focus filters, what are you focusing on? And when you go beyond that, you'll find that it comes back down to your beliefs and your conditioned mind. And what I found is that over time, what's sitting in your conditioned mind comes from a lot in terms of what has happened in our past when you decided that you're not good enough. So I always sit with you and ask you a question like, when did you decide you were not good enough? When is the first time that you remember that you actually were not worthy of someone or something, that you're not worthy of your business, you're not worthy of making money, you're not worthy of love, you're not worthy of power, you're not worthy of confidence? When was it? And we always ask you questions that take you through what we call a timeline. And taking you through a timeline takes you through to ask you then further questions. Was it before you were born? Was it during birth? Was it after you were born? And if you were to know, when? So if you say it was after you were born, I've had many clients who've actually said before they were born. And you might answer, why? How do I remember this? You have to remember that your unconscious mind, which is this conditioned mind that we are talking about here, remembers everything. One of the biggest functions of your conditioned mind is to remember everything from the time that you were even conceived. And when you remember that, I've had experiences where clients have actually remembered going into the womb of their mom, and they actually remember, they might not remember the incident, but they remember feeling rejection. They remember feeling hurt. They remember feeling anger. They remember feeling how they're not good enough because of the rejection. So when you are, we focus, one last thing I'd like to say to you, Mariam, and to a lot of the other ladies there, is think about people that you have in your life. There are people you like, and there are people you dislike. Many of you will say, oh, well, let's not worry about the people that you dislike. Let me not associate. I challenge you to start to associate with those people that you perceive to dislike, because perception is what we call projection. They are there to teach you something about what's going on inside of you. And if you keep rejecting them, it means that your unconscious mind is actually taking that and not allowing you to be able to learn about what is it they need to teach you. And when you've learned it, that dislike will actually disappear. So I'm saying something that I know is going to stir a little confusion to everyone. But think about the term perception is projection. When people enter your life, they enter your life to be able to teach you certain things. People you like, they probably are reflecting your conditioned mind about things that you enjoy and you like about yourself, and that's why you like them. People you dislike are also reflecting inside of you the things that you would like to have, or the things, for example, that you are disconnected with and you need in order for you to move ahead. So you will find that going into this conditioned mind over here, Miriam, is where we need to work on to get rid of the self-limiting beliefs, because the power is within you. You will find it through that journey of going through your timeline. And when you go through that timeline, you disconnect. It's called the Gestalt. It's got links next to each other. So on your timeline, you have all these links. The very first event is that event that made you feel that you are not worthy, that you are not good enough. When we disconnect that, it allows you then to disconnect every other link right until your life that you have today. And you focus on that, Miriam, you'll find that your conditioned mind changes. That changes your focus. That then changes your thinking. So it's just not about positive thinking. It's got to go far beyond that. That changes your behavior, because then it shows in your behavior, and you will start to get different results. And I personally, if you sit with me and listen to my personal story, you will know that this is how I got to see different results in my life, because I didn't just change my behavior. I didn't just change my positive thinking. I had to go back and revisit what made me believe that I'm actually not good enough. What made me believe that I was not worthy of this world. So, Miriam, I hope that helps. Yes?
Yes, thank you very much.
Good. All right, ladies, Kadela, I don't know about time. If you have it, if you want to allow any more questions, I'm available to take some questions and answers.
Yeah, we can take 5 minutes of your time more, Hawa, to give the others chance to ask.
Absolutely. So, ladies, if you want to ask any questions, you can.
Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity as well to recommend the neurological alignment. It's really an amazing program.
Thank you, Kadela. I look forward to hearing from you. And some of you ladies have worked with me before. You're more than welcome just to connect with Lerato. She's got a few, sessions that she'll be able to arrange for you as well. Any other questions that you might have? So I'm just going to, I'm not going to complete the full presentation in terms of time. I just like to look at when we speak about the lioness, that's a whole new topic completely on its own. But when we talk about building the lioness within you, is how do you navigate the corporate jungle, as this particular lioness? And I, for one, I've learned that once I've achieved the power within me, I was able to awaken this lioness by still having and being authentic, being who you are, being the charismatic person you are, the beauty that we have, and still be able to roam around the lions who we know are the male counterparts, but with the confidence and the poise, because we have that power within us, ladies and gents. You have it within you to be able to have the strength of that lioness, to be able to have and bring God wonder wherever you go, because then together we will be that force that this world has never seen. The power is purely within you. And if I can end off, if there aren't any questions, is that I strongly believe that the one sure thing that we can change in this world is ourselves. Because then we can change the world in the way that we see it, as well as the way that it responds to us. The world will only respond to you in a certain way if you start to see it in completely different eyes. The challenge is not to get others to respect you. It is rather to become respectable through the knowledge and skill that we obtain in our lifelong learning. So based on that, I'd like to open up for, if there aren't any question and answers, I'm quite happy to be able to chat. I see Faiza, you've got your hand raised, Nalini, unless that was from earlier. Yeah, good. Are there any other questions? No? Good. All right, then from my side, Kadela, thank you very much. Ladies, I was honored to be here today. Thank you. I know that in 1 hour, there isn't much that we can. I hope that I've just kind of whet your appetite in terms of how you as a lioness can actually roam your corporate world together with your home, because we as women, we run our home, we run a family, we also run our corporate world, and how you can actually develop yourselves from there. So once again, Kadela, I wish you all the best with the International Women Entrepreneur Society. I look forward to working with you on many other projects, and I know we've had many meetings and discussions, and I do believe that we will be working with all our male counterparts that we have outside the UAE, but also in Africa and Pakistan as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Hawa. It was very, very insightful. And yeah, I look forward to the next sessions that I have with you.
Thank you very much, Kadela. Thank you. And ladies, those of you who joined us from all over other countries, thank you very much for your time and effort, and I look forward to connecting with you. If you need more information on awakening the lioness within you, I'm quite happy to share that with you, and also on the neurological connections on certain exercises and activities that you can actually do on your own. I'm quite happy to send you some information on it. Yes?
Thank you all for attending today, and we look forward to see you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Asli. We didn't hear from you. I was hoping to hear more from you, Asli.
Yes.
No, I was writing, just I didn't want to cut because the subject and the insight was so much like a river towards ourselves. I really felt like listening and living everything that is taught. So I didn't want to interact and write, but I wrote as much as I could.
Well done. I look forward to connecting with you, Asli. Hopefully we can meet up in person.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.